Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and today I'm here with a design team post for Fairy Stamper. Today I am making this card and I will be using the following stamps. Grass is there first, but I won't actually be using that one. Flying Owl, Stacked Mushrooms, Fairy Couple, Stone Stage, Friendship Sentiment, and then Frilly Branches. And then I will also be using this background from Fairy Stamper called Northern Lights. And I'm going to be making a 5.5-inch square card. And so I'm cutting this down to about 5.25 inches, and I'm just going to try to take off the same amount around all the sides so that it's still pretty centered. And then I'm going to start stamping my images. I'm going to start out with the Stone Stage, and I'm using various hybrid and alcohol inks, archival inks, as well as some Versafine black Onyx ink, because I do like that to use with the fairies themselves or when I want a really crisp, clean black image. So I will be using that on some of them. So for this I am using a gray tone for the stage, and I'm going to make sure that gets on there well, and then I'm going to put the Fairy Couple on there, and I'm going to stamp that. And I was just looking at the image of it to make sure that I got it positioned correctly on the stage to where it looked like it was sitting on there well. Now you'll see when I do this, even with using the stamping platform, the piece still moved of paper. I didn't have a strong enough magnet on there. So what I'm going to do, because I wanted to stamp it again, is I cleaned it off, I waited for it to dry off some, and then I positioned it back on there. Now it's certainly not the best thing that you have to do, especially when using the stamping platform, but that definitely does help for it not to happen. But on occasion it does, and if it does, you do still have the opportunity to be able to position it on there. You just want to make sure that you start off with a clean stamp so that you don't end up getting ink somewhere where you don't want it for there. So I stamped that a couple more times, made sure that that was nice and crisp, and then I'm going to use the Flying Owl as well as the Sentiment and get that stamped on there. And again, I'm going to be using the Versafine Onyx Black ink to do that. One of the things I love about using these backgrounds is it helps to make such a quick card. You know, the video itself obviously is sped up some, so the video itself is about 6 minutes, but all together completely to make this card with cleaning everything, cleaning all the stamps, putting everything away, it took me about 26 minutes. So you really can't go wrong with that to be able to make a really cute card, and that's why I love the backgrounds, because making the background is a lot of times a big portion of it. Now I didn't do a lot of coloring or anything in this, so again, that type of thing can also, you know, start becoming time consuming, but with this one I think it turned out really, really cute with just using colored inks and that type of thing. So now I'm going to use the Frilly Branches, and I'm going to use some different colored greens, more of a pine green and then more of a moss green, and I'm going to stamp that in all different areas around there. Now I do end up picking it up and taking it off of the platform, and I also use a couple different colors while I'm doing it, and I stamp right on there. Now I know a lot of people say then you'll have other colors in your ink and then the color won't be true, and all of that information is completely true, but I'll be really honest, I just don't care. And I'm not saying it to try to be anything, I'm just saying it doesn't bother me if there's some extra colors or different colors a little bit and it changes the ink color a little bit. It just doesn't really bother me that much, so that's why I just really don't care. But again, if that's not what you want, then don't do it, and you know, clean off your stamp and then use a different color. You can certainly do that. There's no right or wrong necessarily to do it, except for what you believe is right and wrong when you're doing them, when you're stamping them. So again, I'm just gonna, like I said, stamp those and kind of all over in different areas on the card. I was trying not to get too much onto other stamped images that were already on there. I didn't want it covering up, even though they're different colors, they really wouldn't have covered it up, but I just didn't want too much overlapping onto the sentiment and to the owl, so that's what I was trying to kind of keep away there. Now the stacked mushrooms is what I end up coloring with some alcohol markers, and I just used some red, a hot pink, and an orange just to give some colors to there on one side, and then I used blue and like a turquoisey green and then purple on the other side for the other side of the stacked mushrooms. And like I said, I'm just going to color them up real quick. There's already shading with the stamp, so I don't always feel like you need to do a ton of shading when you're coloring certain stamps, depending on what it already looks like. So here I'm going to continue with that one. And then that's going to be pretty close to the end of this card. Like I said, really quick, really simple, very easy, but I think it ends up becoming a beautiful card just with the stamping and using the different color inks while you're stamping. So while this finishes up, I want to thank everybody for joining me. Make sure you check out the Fairy Stamper Facebook page and their YouTube channel and subscribe to it. And then to finish it off, finally, I do use some Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pen because we all know you can't have fairies without some sparkle. And then I am just going to use, double-sided tape to adhere that to a card base. And so that's it. Thanks for joining me. Everybody take care and have a great day.